Yeah, hi, my name is Wayne, and I'm regulated immigration consultant in Canada. I'm working in Vancouver downtown, and today I'm going to explain a little bit about how international students can apply for the Canadian permanent residency and what is the best way to apply for the PR. So yeah, all of our participants are from Ascenda. So today I will explain about the express entry system and what is other option for the international student in BC. So I will talk about BC PMP program. It's a provincial nominee program, and LMIA, what is LMIA and why do you need the LMIA? And then we are going to have short Q&A session. Yeah, firstly is express entry system. Sorry? Yeah, so express entry system. So express entry is a well-known program, and this is the system from the federal government, and federal government make their portal, and everyone who is eligible for the express entry can make their own profile in the federal government. Then they will give the invitation, and then they can apply for the permanent residency. So in the express entry program, there is many streams, but usually people who graduate the university or college in Canada use the CEC program or Federal Skilled Worker program. So everyone who is eligible for the CEC program, which is called Canadian Experience Class, or Federal Skilled Worker program, which is called FSWP, can make their own profile in the express entry pool. If the candidate has more than like 540 scores in the express entry pool, then there will be high chance to get the invitation from the federal government. So once your score is high enough to get the invitation, then you can get the invitation, and then you have 60 days to apply for the PR application. And then federal government will see your profile and will see your document. Then they will give you the PR card, it's a COPR. It takes only like less than 6 months if you are single. Sometimes if you are married and if you have families, then it takes longer, but if you are single, it's less than 6 months. So for the CEC class, everyone who wants to apply for the express entry under the CEC class, they must have 1 year Canadian work experience within 3 years. And the position should be more than tier 0, 1, 2, 3. So that means if you are working in the restaurant as a server, you are not qualified for the express entry, because express entry only count for skilled level experience in Canada or overseas. So if you want to work as a server in restaurant, then you cannot apply for the express entry. At least you should have your experience as a food service supervisor, which is NOC tier 3. Then you can apply, you can use your experience in the express entry. So for the 1 year means is total 1,560 hours in year, and the day must be more than 365. And then you can make your own profile in express entry. For the Federal Skilled Worker program, they have their own point system. So if you have 1 year experience in Canada or in your home country with skilled level, and if you have more than IELTS 6 each, general, and if you have any other like job offer or education background, then your score, if your score is more than 67 point out of 100, then you will be eligible for applying for express entry profile. But once you apply for the express entry profile, it doesn't mean you will get the invitation from the express entry. Last year, the federal government changed kind of system. So before the category-based selection, everyone who applied for the express entry under the CEC, they all the same. They have same background. They have same experience, at least 1 year or 2 years in Canada. Everyone was same. But last year, the federal government issued that some kind of jobs, positions in Canada is super urgent. So if someone who is working in some kind of section like healthcare or science or trade occupation, they will give more priority to apply for the express entry. So if you are working in healthcare occupation or science, technology, or computer things, and trade occupation, or transport occupation, which include the pilot, then agriculture or agri-food occupation, they have their own selection opportunity. But its eligibility is different. You must have experience in the category, like healthcare occupation, and it's 6 months out of 3 years. And then you should have experience in Canada, like CEC or Federal Skilled Worker Program. So if you have 1 year experience in Canada with any job, more than tier 3, and then you have 6 months experience as a registered nurse in your home country, you can apply for the category-based selection. So it's different from regular selection and category-based selection. The category is the work, the experience as a healthcare or science technology. It doesn't have to be in Canada, but yeah, in your home country, that's fine. But in order to apply for the express entry with category-based selection, you must be eligible for the CC or Federal Skilled Worker. Then you can apply for the category-based selection. Yeah, so last row, I think was yesterday. Yesterday was 546. It's the maximum is 200 point, 1,200 points. So if someone who make their own profile in the express entry, and then if someone who get more than 550, then they can get the invitation from the federal government. Then they can apply for the permanent residency application. But if someone who made their own profile and usually they get 400 something, then there is no way to get the invitation from the federal government. So in order to increase your score in the express entry, they have many options. First thing is getting higher English score. If you get like CRB 9 or 10, then your score will be really high. And if you really don't want to do that, then there is 2 ways to get a higher point in the express entry system. One is you can get 600 points from the BC government, and this is called BC PMP program. Or if you have employer who's gonna support your permanent residency program, then you will get at least 50 points to 200 points from the LMIA. So maybe there are 3 ways you can raise up your score in the express entry system. So express entry is how it work. So firstly, you need to be eligible for the express entry category. one is CC, and one is Federal Skilled Worker. So if you have at least 1 year experience as a tier 0, 1 to 3, then you will be eligible for the express entry. And then you can make your profile in the express entry system, and you will get the invitation if your score is high enough. Then you can upload your document like your police certificate or your school background. Then yeah, they takes like 6 months or less, and then you will get the permanent residency. So category-based selection. In addition, if you have experience as a registered nurse in your home country and you want to apply for the category-based selection, their score is relatively lower than the regular CEC program. So last draw score was 546, but healthcare or science, trade, transportation is less than 500. So if you have experience in the science or computer science things, then you could apply for the category-based selection. So here is the BC Provincial Nominee Program, and this is a very important program because someone who graduate in college or university in BC, and if they only have like 400 score, and for now there is no way to get the invitation from the federal government express entry, so it can be one option for people who graduate in university in BC. So if you have a nomination letter from the BC government, then your score in the express entry will be 600 more. So let's say if your score is currently 400, and if you get the nomination letter from the BC government, then your score will be 1,000. So that means next draw, you can get the invitation. So we can use the BC Provincial Nominee Program to raise up your score in the express entry. So BC Provincial Nominee Program is different program from the federal things. So BC has our own immigration system and immigration law. So BC government have many immigration system, but for international students, we can say 3 programs is good for us. So one is skilled worker, and one is international graduate class, and last one is entry level and semi-skilled worker. But someone who graduate the university in Canada or BC, and if they are eligible for the post-graduation work permit, they don't need to care about the skilled worker program. Skilled worker program is program for people who has a 2-year experience in their home country or in Canada, and if they don't graduate in BC, they cannot apply for the international graduate class. So if someone who graduate in from BC institution like Ascenda or UBC SFU, then they can apply for the international graduate class, and they don't require any experience to apply for the BC PMP program. So international graduate class is only for the international graduate students who graduate in Canada. So international graduate class, they must have job offer from the employer, and the job offer and the position should be like NOC tier 0, 1 to 3, but 0 is realistically impossible. So if you graduate like BA, then you can get job offer like administrative manager or office manager or accounting supervisor. That can be the good position for people who graduate in university in BC. So if you got a job offer from your employer, you can make BC Provincial Nominee Program. You can apply for the BC PMP anytime. So once you got the invitation from the PCPMP, and they take 3 months to take process. So after 3 months, your score in Express Entry, there will be another 600 point. But because you need to qualify for the Express Entry and PCPMP program, firstly, you should have experience in Canada in order to make your Express Entry profile. And then you need to apply for the PCPMP. Then your score will be more than 600 point. There is another program, it's called Entry Level and Semi-Skilled Worker. And this is not for the Express Entry. As I mentioned, Express Entry only count the experience as a skilled worker. But this program is not required as a skilled worker. So if you work as a restaurant server or hotel front desk, then the position level will be tier 4 or 5, which is you're not qualified for the Express Entry. But if you have experience at least 9 months in that position with that employer, just one employer, then you will qualify for the Express Entry level and semi-skilled worker. Because it is not the Express Entry, after 9 months, there is a PCPMP process, 3 months, and then you need to apply for your PR application through the regular PR portal, not the Express Entry. That takes like more than a year process. So if you cannot get a job as a skilled level, like administrative assistant or office manager, if you really hard to get a job as that kind of jobs, then you can have another option to apply for the PCPMP program. So which is server and front desk and truck driver. Yeah. So if you work as a server in restaurant, then you will be qualified for the entry level and semi-skilled in BC. And for the BC Provincial Nominee Program, we also have priority occupations. One is BC Tech. If you get a job offer as a graphic designer or software developer or web designer, it can be a BC Tech. Or if you get a job as a healthcare assistant, then you can apply through the healthcare portal. And if you get job offer from the daycare, then it's one of the priority occupations in BC. So the difference between the international graduate, semi-skilled, and priority occupations is score. If you got a job offer as a regular position like administrative assistant or accounting supervisor or any jobs in the office, that should be in the general draw. So that is the 200 maximum point, and the draw score is 120. And if you get a job as a server or front desk in hotel, then your score should be more than 100. But if you have the priority occupations, then your score should not have to be like 100 or 120. If you get a job as a EC teacher or healthcare, your score can be 65 or 70, and that's enough to get the invitation. And if you work as a software designer or graphic designer or web developer, then 103 point is high enough to get the invitation. And construction is same. But mostly people who graduate university in the BC, like UBC, Ascenda, UCW, mostly they are getting job as an office job. So if you have your own license, like ECE or healthcare, then you can apply for you can find the employer as a ECE or healthcare. But mostly person who got a job offer from the office is general draw. So your score should be more than 120. But since 2022, the BC government changed the regulation. So we have the area score. And if you get a job offer from the employer who is in the Metro Vancouver, your area score will be 0. But if you got a job offer from employer in Victoria, then your score, your area score will be get 25. So there is a 25 point gap between people in Metro Vancouver or people in the outside of Metro Vancouver. So getting 120 points as an international graduate class is not super easy, but it can be another option to get higher score in your Express Entry profile. When you see the EBC, it is Express Entry British Columbia. So that means you need to be qualified for the Express Entry first, and then you need to be qualified for the BC Provincial Nominee Program as well. So once you make Express Entry profile, which means you are qualified for the CEC or Federal Skilled Trade Worker, then you need to apply for the BC PMP program. Then you will get the 106 point. But BC PMP program, they have the employer requirement as well. For the Express Entry, there is no employer's requirement, or there is no section related with the employer. But for the BC PMP program, this is the employer-driven program. So employer decide to support your BC PMP program, and the employer should be qualified for the BC PMP program. So one is the requirement for the employer is the one thing is that in the Metro Vancouver, the employer must have more than 5 employees as a full-time. So if you got a job offer from like the very, very small company, like 3 employees, the employer is not qualified. In the Metro Vancouver, your employer must have more than 5 full-time employees, and the business must be operating more than a year in the BC. So only 2 requirements for the employer. So yeah, so if the employer qualified for the BCPMP, and then if the employer wants to support your BCPMP program, then you can make the profile for the BCPMP provincial nominee program. It's the same story as entry level and semi-skilled. But if the employer is in like Victoria or Kelowna or Kamloops or Whistler, so outside of Vancouver, the employer should have more than 3 full-time employees, not 5. So if you want to get a job in the Whistler, if the employer has like 3 full-time employees, then it should be fine to apply for the BCPMP. So it's a big difference between the employers in Metro Vancouver or employers not in Metro Vancouver. And it is all the same: childcare, healthcare, tech, construction. Well, it's all the same. It's a basic requirement for the BCPMP. So another way is to get a higher point in the express entry. You can get at least 50 points from the LMIA support. If you have the LMIA support letter, then or LMIA approval letter, which is issued by the Service Canada, and then you're from your employer, then you can claim 50 points in your express entry. Sometimes you can get 200 points, but it is a managerial level of job offer. So if you get a job as an executive director in the company, then you can claim 200 points. But usually the people who graduate the university and apply for the PR like within 3 years, then because they don't have any experience in Canada, it is almost impossible to get the the job offer like executive director or vice president. So usually people who got a job offer as an administrative assistant or office manager, yeah, they will only give 50 points in the express entry. And this is only for PR purpose, and LMIA is labor market impact assessment is driven by the Service Canada, not from the IRCC. And this is the assessment that why the employer wants to hire the temporary foreign workers, not Canadian or PR. So they need to prove that why the employer need to hire the temporary foreign worker and how much the employer made the effort to hire the Canadian or PR first. So once the employer got the positive letter from the Service Canada, and there is a LMIA approval letter, and there is a LMIA number related with your name and your nationality, then IRCC can see the numbers and can see your name in the LMIA, then they will give you 50 points. There is so many LMIA case, but yeah, one is low wage LMIA and high wage LMIA dual intent, LMIA only for the PR only. There is many streams. Even we have like 10 LMIA streams, but this is only for the people who graduate in Canada. So you only need to care about those 4 kind of LMIA stream. So low wage and high wage is we call very general LMIA stream. So yeah, because if you don't have the work permit, then you need to apply for the low wage, high wage LMIA application. But since you have the postgraduate work permit and it's 3 years after graduation of Ascenda, then you don't need to worry about the low wage and high wage LMIA. You can apply through the dual intent LMIA or LMIA only for the PR application. For the difference between dual intent and high low wage LMIA is if the employer operate their own business less than a year, they must apply the low or high wage LMIA application. But if the employer operate their own business more than a year in Canada, not in BC, they can apply for dual intent LMIA. The processing time is different. If the employer apply for the low wage LMIA, the processing time like 6 to 8 months to get the approval letter. But if the employer apply for the dual intent LMIA application, the processing time will be like less than 6 months from now. And LMIA for PR purpose, it's the same story with the dual intent. For the dual intent LMIA and LMIA for the permanent residency, there is one difference between 2 applications. One is for dual intent LMIA, that the temporary foreign worker who wants to apply for their PR application later, and if they need to apply for the work permit, then they can apply for the dual intent LMIA. Let's say if you got a job offer after 2 years from your graduation of the Ascenda, now you only have 1 year, less than a year work permit right now. In that case, you need to apply for the LMIA with the work permit option, because after LMIA approval, you need to extend your status. But if you got a job offer right after or less than a year of your graduation from the Ascenda, you still have 2 years work permit. So in that case, you don't need to apply for the work permit option because you already have more than 2 years work permit. So in that case, you can apply for LMIA for PR purpose only. In that case, you can get the 50 point in your express entry, but you don't need to apply for another work permit. Just the LMIA number will merge with your current work permit. So, and the Service Canada will not charge any government fee because the temporary foreign worker, which is you, only need 2 points for the express entry. So they don't charge anything for the process fee. So yeah, there is only one difference between dual intent and LMIA for PR only. So one is they charge $1,000 as a government fee. They are not charging you, but they charge to the employer. But the other one, they don't charge anything. But if you apply for the LMIA for the PR purpose only, there is one condition. You need to apply for your express entry, or you need to apply for permanent residency application within a year. If you apply for your express entry application after a year from you got the approval letter, then you will not claim the LMIA points. So the one condition is if you apply for the LMIA PR purpose only, you can apply for with free the application fee, but you need to apply your PR application within a year. So if you have enough score in the express entry, then you don't need to apply for the dual intent LMIA. But if your score is like 480 something or 70 something, and if you have 50 point and then your score will be like 520, we are not sure right now because the express entry for now 540 something, or sometimes it's going down or sometimes going up. In that case, it's better to apply for the dual intent LMIA because we don't know the future. Yeah, so there is a big difference between the dual intent LMIA and LMIA only for the purpose, PR purpose only. So here is a LMIA process, how it works, because LMIA is not very short processing time. It currently it takes 5 or 6 months to get the approval letter because a lot of temporary foreign workers wants to work in Canada. So if you want to apply your express entry right after a year, then you need to prepare like the LMIA 8 months before because it takes time. So firstly, the employer need to make the advertisement because LMIA is an assessment that the employer should find the Canadian or PR first, and then they are eligible for hiring the temporary foreign worker. So the employer must make the advertisement for 4 weeks, at least a month. And then in the system, the employer need to make the advertisement in the job bank, and job bank is Service Canada's program. In the job bank, the Service Canada will match the candidate from the Canadian and PR to the job description automatically. So the employer needs to send the invitation to the candidate from the job bank after 4 weeks. And then even though they send the invitation and they could have the interview with Canadian or PR, then if the employer failed to find or hire the Canadian or PR, then they can support your LMIA. So once the employer confirms that, yeah, they failed to find the Canadian applicant or PR applicant, then they can apply for the LMIA application and they will get the file number. And then the processing time for now is 5 to 6 months for the LMIA. And after 6 months, Service Canada will call the employer to check the application and if they still need to hire the temporary foreign worker. So they will ask many questions through the phone interview. and then they will give the approval letter, LMIA approval letter. So the employer can provide the LMIA approval letter to you or temporary foreign worker, and with that letter, temporary foreign worker can claim the 50 point in their express entry system. Yeah, apply PR application within 1.5 years. It was for only during COVID-19. Yeah, so they changed again. So now it's 1 year. So as I mentioned, you need to apply for your express entry or PR application 1 year. Yeah. So you need to know your score in the express entry, whether you only need 50 points within a year or not. So if you need the 2-year experience to get a higher score in express entry, then you should choose the other stream rather than PR purpose LMIA. Yeah, so for now, so it's a general question. So can I work while waiting for the school transcript? Yeah, you can work. So you can work after the school finish, but your experience will be counted after you apply for the work permit. So if you graduate today and your graduation certificate or diploma degree will be issued next week, and then you apply for your post-graduate work permit next week, your experience will be counted from the next week, not today. And if my husband applied for the BCPMP program, can I apply separately for the entire family? Well, the second question is up to you. Yeah, if you are eligible for the express entry and if you are confident that you can get the invitation from the federal government, then express entry will be the good option for your family because express entry is faster. But if you're not confident, then you can, your husband can apply for the BCPMP. That's fine. That's no problem. And what do I need to apply for the permanent residency after graduation? Well, you need to apply for, basically, if your score is high enough, then you don't need to worry about anything for your score. But if your score is not very high to get the invitation, you need to consider how you're gonna raise up your score in express entry. So there are two options. One is you can apply for the BCPMP through your employer, or you can apply for the LMIA any stream through your employer. It can helpful. It can be helpful for your express entry score. If you don't know your score or you want to predict your score, then you can come to our office. We are in downtown, very close to the Ascenda University, so we can calculate your scores. And yeah, we can do the one-to-one free immigration consultation. We don't charge anything for the consultation. And if you want to get a job with the LMIA, we can make a placement for you, and we can process your LMIA in express entry application. Yeah, so for now, my part is done, and I can get the question.